audience, we will do a far better job than those who don't. Because remember, these were designed to make life easier. We forget that as well. Everybody likes to complain about blue screens of death, which don't happen on a Mac. And all these other problems, how long it takes, how I don't know what to do, and I messed this up, and how do I get this back, and I've lost my data. The computer was designed to make things easier for us. And as an offshoot, mobile devices and tablet PCs and iPhones and iPads were designed to make things simple. So let's remember that. How are we going to make things simple? Well, from personal experience, I can tell you that there is nothing simpler if you want to make a slideshow presentation than a Keynote program on a Mac. PowerPoint on a PC is what most of you probably use. I have no problems with it. Everything that I talk about today applies equally to Keynote and PowerPoint. You can do the same thing on each. But the reason that these slideshows have existed for a long time in their various forms and continue to this day is because they work. It's not too much and it's not too little. In order to edit together video, it takes a long time. If you want to use audio, it takes a long time. But static images, maybe a little movement, it's a nice middle ground that a practicing attorney can use to enhance their audio presentation and what they do and when they get in front of an audience and speak. To that end, obviously, and everybody probably uses Word. I mean, everybody knows what Microsoft Word is. If you're still using WordPerfect, I suggest you kind of maybe update a little bit, but I understand it's still in use. Pages, that's the other icon, that's the Mac version. You can't do this unless you have your substantive outline. But remember, in creating these presentations and using technology, you can't eliminate the substance either. So you can use these programs to create your outline, to know what substance you have, and then use the technology like Keynote to bring it to the audience in a graphical way, in a simpler way, that reaches them and affects them and moves them on that journey to your perspective and maximizes their audience comprehension. Another one that kind of gets lost in this discussion is Adobe Acrobat. Now, I can tell you, certainly this goes for the solo practitioners and for those in smaller firms, that Adobe Acrobat Pro, and I am not sponsored by them and I'm not paid by them in any way, shape, or form, but Adobe Acrobat Pro has so many wonderful features, and maybe that's even overstating it. There are some key, fundamentally wonderful features in Adobe Acrobat Pro that are completely underutilized at every firm that I go to. One gigantic example is, and I don't know how many of you know this, Adobe Acrobat Pro does Bates labeling. All you have to do is go to your copier, scan your documents, it will automatically not only Bates label them, but it'll make sure that it won't print over any important information by reducing the image size so you get that nice Bates label in the corner. If any of you are still either outsourcing Bates labeling or you're putting those stickers, God help us, if people are still putting stickers on their documents before they're producing them for Bates labels, please do us all a favor. Get a scanner, get Adobe Acrobat Pro. It's a wonderful utility. It also does redaction. And makes it so much easier to review things. And I understand that there are probably a lot of vendors out there that are offering more advanced software programs that can do highlighting and putting things into notebooks and organization and all kinds of these advanced features that sound great until you get them into your firm and the one person who was trained on it leaves, and now nobody knows what's going on. So Adobe Acrobat Pro, and I make sure that I keep these suggestions down to those that you can sit down, you can learn in a very short period of time, and I'm talking an hour. It's really that simple. And use to their utmost effectiveness. And the greatest example of that is with Adobe Pro. I have been involved in several trials where Adobe Acrobat Pro is the primary way we present evidence to the jury. It's a simple matter of pulling up each exhibit as a PDF. You can blow up that page nice and easy. You can highlight it. You can underline it on the fly. It's kind of like being John Madden with his telestrator for the jury, and they love it. I was involved in a case recently where we did just that. I did that with a senior partner here at the firm who had never used technology to this extent by any stretch of the imagination. And I convinced him that this would be a good way to do it. We had 250 exhibits. We made each exhibit its own PDF. When he wanted exhibit, or he said the word exhibit 73, it was a double click, and as long as we had permission from the judge, it was up on the board. If it's not, I could keep it on my screen. And it's just a matter of dragging my mouse to the left. If he wanted to show paragraph 3, I could blow it up. And we polled the jury afterwards, and we asked them what they liked and what they didn't like. Now, the case settled, and they said, in essence, we would have gone with your side. And the reason we would have done it is because we saw what you did, we understood what you did, and the other guy with his scribblings and on that piece of paper and the transparency, it was hard to follow. The way that you did it was effective. So I'm a big fan of Adobe Acrobat Pro in that respect. A lot of people really aren't up to speed yet, or a lot of attorneys anyway, with the concept of using video as part of their litigation practice. And quite frankly, I put these up because I think it is a powerful way to get your message across. I think if you're comfortable with video editing and posting on YouTube, you can do things like take portions of depositions, you can post them to YouTube in a private way to be accessed by others, maybe experts, etc. Personally, I don't think the technology is there yet for a practicing attorney to be hands-on with the incorporation of video technologies into their presentations yet. However, at the end of this presentation, you'll see that there's at least one way that I know of that can be very, very effective and very easy to do. And I'll show you that later on in the presentation. Moving on, there is the iPad. And a lot of tablets now are coming out that are similar to the iPad. I won't call them knockoffs. But there's a lot of utility to having something, and I have mine here, that you can hold in the palm of your hand that is no bigger than a piece of paper that you can work from. And forget about just the impact on a jury. There are applications that are very, very practical when it comes to using them in litigation. For example, you'll see there's 4 up here. Westlaw Next, which is the latest iteration of the Westlaw Legal Research Service, has a dedicated iPad app that is, quite honestly, a wonderful experience as far as the user experience goes for an attorney. Just like being on the computer, it transfers over to the computer. If you have a case, you can save it in one of those folders, and it's dedicated to the iPad. So if you're in court and you have to let the judge know about some kind of legal topic pretty darn quick, and you're nowhere near your office, and even if you have your laptop, it's a heck of a lot easier to go across the street to that cafe and sit down with your iPad and hop on the internet and get the research you need. The next icon with the key, that is something called Logmein. Now, for those of you who've never heard of Logmein.com, and again, I'm not being sponsored, these are just things that I find incredibly useful. Logmein it can be free. There is a free version of this, and all it is, it's kind of like Go to My PC or one of these other paid things that you've probably heard of before, where you can sign up for free, install this free program on your computer, and then you can go to any other computer, go to the website, and access your desktop from wherever else you are. Obviously, an invaluable thing if it comes to accessing information or documents on your computers in the office when you're on the go. Now, if you have an upgraded version, and this costs money, but it's something, I think it's like $49.99 or something like that. For Logmein, I think it's Ignition is what they call it now. Now you can access your PC or your Mac from your iPad. Again, if you're not doing research, maybe you have a file on your desktop that you forgot. Huge, huge bonus if it comes to getting access to information when you're on the go, and we're doing that more and more every day. The other two you'll see to the right of the screen are the icons for iBooks and for notes. If you have PDFs, certainly exhibits, and you need to, or if you have a PDF of a deposition, that can be loaded right up into iBooks, and it can be read on the train, on the plane. Lots of practical implication. And I put the note application up there because it's always nice to have a pen and paper with you, even when you don't have pen and paper. Before these things came out, I historically just forgot to have a pen on me. And it would be very embarrassing to have to borrow one from a clerk or going to the local, downstairs in the courtroom, they have a little sandwich shop, and to ask them for a pen because I forgot mine. God forbid the judge should give me a date and I got to write it down. It was a note application, okay? And I bring it up because it just seems so obvious, but a lot of people never use it. As attorneys, we can use it. We can get rid of paper, save the environment. I mean, I'm a fan of saving the environment, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because you probably have something on your phone or on your laptop right now that you could be using even more in an effective way that'll make things quicker and it'll help you in your practice and cut down on expense that you probably didn't even think of. And that's one of them. Before I get on to the truly mobile devices and the smartphones, you'll notice that I didn't put Facebook or Twitter up here. There are lots of people that would like to go around the country and talk about, here's why attorneys should use Twitter, here's why attorneys should use Facebook. I figured that everybody's heard enough about that. I will let them talk about it. I'm sure it's a fabulous thing to do. I'm not sure that I agree, but I don't put it up here. Yes, you can use Twitter, you can use Facebook, you can go to LinkedIn, you can go to a whole bunch of internet sites. And more power to you, but I'll let those experts talk about that. When you get down to the iPhone or other smartphones, particularly with the iPhone though, there's two applications that I have found incredibly useful. It's the camera application and the voice memo application. Remember dictaphones? Do many of you still use them? Why not just use your phone? You always have it with you, don't you? And with the camera application, it's an interesting thing. A lot of the images, or at least some of them anyway, that I have used in my presentations that I've helped others with, have been photographs that I've taken on my iPhone. One example you'll see later on is we had 30 binders and 10,000 documents that we reviewed, and we wanted to impress upon the judge that there was a lot of material, comparatively speaking, that we had to go through to come up with the conclusions that we did, and that because of that volume, it made it reliable, our analysis reliable. So what we decided to do is I whipped out my phone and I took a picture of my bookshelf and of the binders there to give the judge the impression that this was mounds and mounds of paper. And if I didn't have that smartphone on me, which I do at all times, it would have been pretty hard to do. So effective use of technology in litigation, ladies and gentlemen, that counts. That counts. And lastly, like I said, that is Safari, and on a Mac, that's like Internet Explorer. You want to go to Twitter? Want to go to Facebook? Any internet site? Whip out your phone. Don't be afraid of using this technology as part of your practice, because I think you will find that it'll get you a long way towards being one step ahead of the competition who maybe waits to get back to the office before they find out the information that they need. You can get it quicker, and if you get it quicker, and then when you get back to the office, you can do something else. And the little tiny moments where you're saving time, believe me, they add up, and I'm a living testament to that. So, we've talked about telling a story. We've talked about the technology you may want to use to help you do that. Rule number 2 is to know your audience. Well, for those of you who are viewing this webinar or viewing this in some other format, you're here because you want to know how to use technology at trial or as part of your litigation practice. Now, I don't know whether you're thinking about purchasing new technology or looking for ideas as far as applications or software. So in order to help all of you and to reach my maximum audience comprehension, I like to view it, when we're talking about the effective use of technology in litigation, at 3 key moments in time. Hardware, software, that's when you're choosing what you want to bring into your practice or maybe what you want to change. Second step is internal use, and that means after you get those components in, how is it going to be introduced to your attorneys and to your support staff, and then how are they going to use it to create whatever it is you're looking to do. And then lastly, external presentation. By that we're talking about taking that final product and obviously presenting it to whoever it may be, your ultimate audience. So when we're talking about choosing hardware or software, or using these things internally, we're looking at 3 key groups. The first group, typically the partners and the decision makers at the firm, are the ones in charge of the cost. So you have to think now, if you're not the person who's actually making that call, and maybe you're